we've got some new items that are in the workspace for us to use, specifically related to pipe data sheets. Now, in the East website, we go to the East website, we have a page called ODOT Workspace and Updates. And on that page is where we keep the PDF that talks about the changes that have occurred in the workspace. I'm going to go ahead and open up that PDF, and we have December's updates. There are a couple of things I want to point out. There is a brand new cell called pipe data _legend in ODOT.cell. It's for use in creating pipe data table sheets. There's another change that happened, and I'm going to kind of scroll slowly down to the seed file areas. The seed files, we added a new spreadsheet. It's not really a DGN seed file, but we've been delivering some commonly used Excel worksheets like the standard drawings. Those have been delivered in the seed folder of the workspace. So we've delivered a new pipe 2022 XLSX. The previous pipes were all removed. The spreadsheets, those were macro enabled spreadsheets. We removed all of those. We also removed some old cache files. We used to create kind of the structure of the table using a reference file, and those files, all except I think 2018 and maybe 2021, those are still in the reference folder. But we had some really old ones there, and those were all removed. So those are the updates. You can look at this PDF on your own and see the rest of the updates. Some folks might be interested in an MDL that was added for the lat long labeler. That was added back in, and it's on the ODOT tools. So the ODOT ribbon workflow, the tools tab, the lat long labeler was added back in. Jeff found one that was recompiled for the Connect version of the software, so that's in there. All right, let's look at a process for using these new tools, this new spreadsheet and the new cell, for creating a pipe data sheet. I'm going to work in ProjectWise, where I've been doing some experimentation. And I happen to have a key number with 5 nines down in the user training area. And this user training area is accessible to both internals and externals. So we can all see what's going on there. Inside the user training area is a key number 5 nines, and it does have a number 9 work set folder. So it is a Connect design platform. So I'm going to use MicroStation Connect in here. In the number 3 base files folder is where we would normally store those LNK DOC link documents. They're described as a table linked to DGN. I'm going to create a brand new one here in the number 3 base files folder using the document, new document. I'm going to go ahead and choose my advanced wizard. And if you are seeing more screens than I am on your advanced wizard, you need to speed up your process, I think, and you should adjust your advanced wizard to skip everything except the attributes pages. This allows us to select our template with the selection button, and I have to drag it over to this screen. All of the seed files are in ProjectWise. They're at the top of the directory structure though, so you have to click this down arrow for the folder tree and choose CAD resources and then seed. And you will see the spreadsheets for the standard drawings, and then you'll see pipe 2022. I'm going to choose that as my template and hit next. And we get to name it. It is classified, I believe, as a roadway document. So I'm going to use the document description, and I see a roadway notes/table title linked to DGN. That's the file. So I'm going to select my document name, and I'm kind of particular about extensions. So I'm going to type in my .xlsx in as an extension in the document name. I don't do any other edits here. I just click next, and next, and it will create the copy of the Excel spreadsheet, which I then almost immediately rename. And if I've forgotten to put my extension, I put it there, but I'm just going to replace this title with pipe data, if I can remember how to spell it. Pipe data, good enough. This table, this spreadsheet, comes with a couple of worksheets already inside it. So I'm going to go ahead and open it to edit it and show you the contents. The page that should be active, the worksheet that's active, is an examples and an instructions dash examples. And there are notes that are surrounded with red rectangles to explain how to use the worksheet. One of the notes is, hey, these areas have a color fill going on. You might want to remove that color fill before you copy it to the clipboard, because otherwise you're gonna paste that color into the DGN. It tells you that you need to merge some cells in column A to indicate which notes are on the same sheet. I'll show you how to do that. And it says replace the sheet number in the worksheet name with the plan sheet number. Well, that makes a heck of a lot of sense. I see right now, this one says sheet number pipe data table. I'm going to do my very first one, and it's going to be the BD01. So I'm going to right click on that worksheet and rename and replace sheet number with BD01. I think that's, and hit enter. Now, let's say I have another one and I already see a question. Let's see if there's a question. Go ahead, Tammy, unmute, ask your question.
So this is going to be referenced into a sheet. So we fill it out here, we can edit it, and all the edits will populate in the sheet. Not like in the old days where if you accidentally bumped a column width or something, then it stopped displaying.
Nope, there's lots of caveats. You have it in general. In general, yes, we're going to fill out the sheet. We will link that into the CAD document, but I haven't gotten to all the tips. Yeah, the column widths, don't be changing column widths, don't be changing row heights. Yeah, you will totally mess everything up if you do that.
Okay, so that's still an issue. Is there any way to lock those widths or anything?
You know, we can talk about that. You can look it up on the internet. That's how I find out how to use Excel.
Okay, so we won't break anything if we do something like that.
You know, the really cool thing is it's hard to break anything. If you got your data and the rows and columns, you're afraid that they've been adjusted, somebody's mangled them or whatever, I will show you. It's very easy to copy the data and put it into a brand new sheet. It's very easy. So okay, let me continue and we'll get through the rest. Let's say that I think I'm going to want another sheet. I'm going to want a BD02. I will copy. So there's a move or copy command. It's a right click in the Excel, and I'm going to create a copy, and I'm just going to move it to the end. You have to set this box up and click OK. And then I would rename, and this one will be my BD02. So got to get my arrow to the right place. So that would be my BD02. Now let me get some data in here. Also notice I can't see the whole sheet. Lots of times people, when they can't see stuff, they will grab these columns and don't do that. Your view controls are at the bottom right. There's also a view ribbon, and so you can change your zoom percentage with your view ribbon, or there's a little slider bar in the bottom right corner and you can change your view. You can also, I like to press the control key on my keyboard and push my scroll wheel away from me. That zooms in, pull it toward me, and that zooms out. So I can quickly zoom in and out. You don't want to affect the widths of things though. So be really careful with changing. Don't change row heights, don't change column widths. I'm going to go back to the instructions example, and I'm just going to copy this data from this sheet. I'm going to start off It's difficult for me to see where I'm at, so I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. And I'm going to start off in cell A15, which happens to be a merge cell. But I'm just going to left-click drag across the sheet until I get to the bottom right corner. And it's not going. I love it. So I didn't get the whole thing. So now I'm going to press my Shift key and then left click in the bottom right corner. That extends the selected area by selecting my Shift key. A lot of you might realize that that's an add to my set when I press the Shift key. So now I've got the whole thing selected, and I am going to right click and choose copy. So that copies all of the information in those cells on that worksheet. I'm going to choose BD01, place my mouse cursor in cell A15. That's the uppermost one that I selected on the previous sheet. And I'm going to right click and choose a paste option that says values when I hover over it. I'm going to kind of zoom in so you can see these paste options. It looks like a little clipboard with a 1, 2, 3. That means the values only, no formatting. This is very important. If you were going to copy all of the data out of a macro-enabled spreadsheet, maybe an older one from 2013, that was only 10 years ago. If you were going to copy out of that spreadsheet, paste into this one using values only. Do not do just a regular Control V or a paste. You'll get formatting when you do that. So I'm going to choose right click and I'm going to choose 1, 2, 3, which is values only. And it pastes the information. They don't change format. The one thing that does happen is those merged cells that were in the sheet number column. Let me deselect everything. Those merged cells, well, it can't bring the merging over. So the next edit that I would need to make is I would need to select the cells that make up my first sheet. So I'm selecting the cells in column A, and it looks like I've got cell 15 through 34 selected, and I'm going to use on the home ribbon the merge and center tool. And it puts the sheet number centered in those cells. It merges those cells. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see what I just did there, and I'll do it on the bottom one. I still need to select A35 through A45 and choose merge and center. So really this sheet is now ready to go. Well, it's very close to being ready to go. I need to save it. And it would be great if I updated the server copy. Let me see, I believe that's on the file menu. Oh, I always love that. I never know where it is in Excel. Let me just hit save. I'm going to force an update by exiting, and it's going to check it in. That'll force the update. Okay, checks it in. I like to check my changes in. Now I can reopen this, and I'm going to want to reopen it because I'm going to get to my next step. I've got a spreadsheet. It's filled out enough that I can start working with it. Now, when I minimize that, I can see project-wise. In project-wise, I need a plan sheet. Those are in the number 2 plan sheets folder. So in the number 2 plan sheets folder, looks like I've still got something checked out because I still have something open. Let me close that. Sorry about that. I was prepping. We're going to create a brand new document in here. So again, document, new document, advanced wizard. This time, I'm going to select a DGN seed file from the CAD resources folder at the top of the pwo.prod data source in the seed folder. And I'm looking for a DGN seed that I can use for 2D drafting. And that's going to be seed 2D. So I choose that one and hit next. Goes right to the Attributes tab, and I am going to choose a Pipe Data Sheets. And I'm going to give it a name. And because I've been here before, it's incremented to PD02. Doesn't matter. I'm going to go ahead and click Next after I type my .dgn. And then I am going to immediately rename the file. Right click on it and I rename it. And I'm going to put the sheet numbers in there. BD01 and BD02. That's what I think I'll put in here. I think. Now I need to open it. So I'm going to open this with MicroStation. So I choose MicroStation. And it's going to open to the default model. There's nothing special here. However, I want to work in a sheet model. I'm creating sheets manually, but I'm going to create a sheet model as soon as it's open. So I'm going to open the models dialog, which is going to be found on the Home ribbon tab in the Drawing ribbon workflow. So I'm at Home, and I'm going to open up my models dialog as soon as it's fully open. There we go. Models opened up on the other screen. So here it is. I'm going to create a brand new model with the plus icon, create a new model. And the new model that I'm going to create is a sheet from seed. Make sure it's sheet from seed. And I get to choose with the little ... button what to use as a seed. And I want to choose a seed. It's not in ProjectWise. It's in the workspace, which is on the C drive. There it is. It's the sheet, the seed2d sheet.dgn. So I choose open. And then it displays for me my choices. And I have all these descriptions. I have one that happens to already have a boundary, a border, a title block. It's got all this stuff in it. So I'm going to choose 11 by 17. I'm going to call this BD01. I'm actually going to put BD01 in as the sheet number. That's going to be the sheet number. So I'll put it in there. It creates the sheet. I'm done with the models dialog. Zoom in and you can see it's got the sheet number displayed there. That's because this sheet seed displays whatever I put in as the sheet number. I've got the properties of the model displayed on the right over here, and the properties of the sheet model and the sheet number is right there. And if I needed to change it, I can change it right there in the properties of the model. Change that sheet number and it will display whatever I put there. I'm going to get rid of some stuff that I don't need. I do not need this clip shape. Don't need it. That's a cell, the clip shape full. I'm going to select it and delete it. I do not need the guidelines. They're very faint, but I don't need them. So I can select them and delete them. I don't need them. I think there's a vertical guideline here as well. I've actually found I've got a little construction element, a little extra gift. I'm going to get rid of that this month. It's just a construction class element that got left behind. Anyway, here's my sheet. It's got my title block. I can reference in a name file if I wish. I can delete this title block if I don't want to have it there, but I'm going to let it sit there for now. I am just about ready to attach all my information from the spreadsheet. So I've got the DGN file open. I'm going to bring the spreadsheet to the front, and I need to copy all of this information to the clipboard. The fastest way to select all of the cells on this BD01 worksheet is to select the tiny little triangle icon in the upper left corner. This is where the column letters and the row numbers intersect. There's a tiny little triangle. I'm going to left click on that triangle and you'll see how it highlights the whole sheet. It's all highlighted. Now I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. I can use Control C. I can use the copy button in Excel. Let me use the copy button. An interesting thing happens in MicroStation when there is something on the clipboard. If there's nothing on the clipboard, this little icon here that looks like a clipboard with a piece of paper it's grayed out. If there's something on the clipboard, that little icon, it's on the drawing ribbon workflow on the home tab in the selection group. That little icon is activated and I can choose paste special. So this is how we're going to choose to paste this linked Microsoft Excel worksheet. So I'm going to select this and kind of zoom in here. It's a linked Microsoft Excel worksheet. Paste special allows you to pick what you want to paste. How do I want to paste this thing? I'm going to paste a link. So when I choose paste, I'm actually in the command to paste it. And here's my tool settings. I don't need to change those. If I decided I wanted to change it from a link to a picture, I could do it right now, but I'm going to leave it as a link. It's asking me to select a rectangle origin, but AccuSnap is not activated, so I need to use my tentative snap. My tentative snap is accomplished by pressing both the left and the right mouse buttons at the same time. So I'm going to move my mouse close to the upper left corner, and I'm going to press both buttons on my mouse. And you'll see the tentative plus has anchored itself to the upper left corner. I'm going to accept that with a left click. So tentative, you have to accept it. I left click to accept it. Now the prompt in the bottom left corner of MicroStation tells me I need to select another corner. Many of us are used to selecting the diagonal corner, but with these spreadsheets, what I want you to select is the upper right corner. It's a little counterintuitive, but get your mouse close to the upper right corner, press both buttons. Oops, I did that poorly. I selected only my left button. I'm going to undo. Undo. Something is still on my clipboard, so I can run this command again, and I'm going to choose paste special, and I'm going to try to do this linked spreadsheet with 2 tentative clicks without talking. Here's 1, accept. Here's 2, accept. There we go. All right. So that was 2 tentative clicks. You have to accept each one. Use the upper left and the upper right corners. And you can see how it fills out the sheet, and it only goes a certain distance down. Now, a lot of people would say, oh, that looks ugly. It's got all this hatching across it. That's terrible. Well, that hatching is telling you that your source document is open. That's all it's doing. It's saying the source document is open. So if I bring Excel to the front and I just simply close Excel, exit, I'm going to know I don't need this to be available. I'm going to close it. Notice the hatching is gone. I'm going to check the document in, but the hatching is gone. Yay. Now I'm just missing my legend. The legend, all that information at the bottom, and there's some bubble notes that appear at the top. Those are all in a new cell. So I'm going to choose the place cell command. It is on the placement group of the home ribbon. I'm going to choose place cell, and I could go hunt for this, but I know the cell name. It's pipe data _ legend. So I'm just going to type this in. It's not case sensitive. So I'm just going to type pipe data _ legend and hit enter. And when I move my mouse into the field, I see that there's something following it. This has an anchor point, which is the lower left corner of the sheet. That's the yellow outline. AccuSnap is working, so I get close. I see the yellow X. I left click, and it places the cell. I'm going to choose the element selection tool just to exit that command. And I see some red stuff got placed up here. Those are the bubble notes. And now, since I'm focused on color, I'm going, oh my goodness, those fills, I forgot to remove those fills. that's okay. I can remove those and I can update this sheet. I just wanted to show you right now how the cell works. So the cell contains all of the notes, the general notes and your footnotes. The footnotes have a bubble number and the footnotes pertain to the note that's up above. So there's my number 2, must have missed number 1. It's up above the design height of cover. Now you can see, since these are all attached to a cell, their location is pretty fixed. So if a row height or a column width changes and the sheet is sized differently, you're going to have trouble matching those bubble notes up with the information from the sheet. Let me show you how that can happen. I'm going to actually edit the file. Now I like to just open the file from ProjectWise. So let me bring ProjectWise to the front. In the number 3 base files, there's my link CAD with my pipe data, and I'm going to open that file up. And I said the thing I forgot to do, and Rick's got his hand up. Rick, go ahead and unmute and ask.
I got a quick question. In the old days, you had to have the spreadsheet open before you created the sheet. Is that still a practice? Do I have to have the Excel open while I'm creating the new sheet?
No, never do. Mm-mm.
Okay, thanks.
Nope. I think I did in this instance just because there was no reason to close it. I was going to end up copying it. So go ahead and lower your hand though, so I don't call on you again.
Hey, Lenny.
Yes.
You do need to open it and copy it to the clipboard so that you can paste it in MicroStation.
Right. That's a little bit different than the question that was asked. I don't need to have it open to create anything in MicroStation. MicroStation is entirely separate, or perhaps I heard the question wrong. So Rick, MicroStation has that thing called a clipboard. And if there's nothing on the clipboard, you'll notice right now, my clipboard icon is grayed out. There's nothing on the clipboard. So I need to put something onto the clipboard. So I probably need to open up another piece of software like Excel. When I open Excel and copy something to the clipboard, it activates that icon. Now you all might remember I got a pop-up when I exited Excel and it says, hey, do you want the stuff that you put on the clipboard to still be available? And I said, no, I was done with it. But if you haven't yet pasted and you close Excel and you say, yeah, I don't need this stuff, well, that icon is going to gray out again because you not really because you closed Excel, but because you said, I don't need this information anymore, and it cleared the clipboard. Just slow down and read the dialogues. It should become clear, but there is no functional thing that says you absolutely have to have Excel open before doing anything. If you've got that information on the clipboard, it knows where it came from. All right, I needed to go in here to the sheet. Yeah, I needed to go into the sheet and I needed to select these highlighted cells. There's actually several. I'm going to use my control and I'm going to collect. So now I've got, what is it, 4 over there and like 8 over there. I've got 12 cells or something selected. I'm going to set the color, the fill to no fill on all of those. So that's a change I'm going to make. I'm going to make that change. I'm going to save that. Do I need to copy this to the clipboard? No, not unless I'm going to be pasting it fresh. I don't need to copy this information to the clipboard. What I would need to do is I would need to, I keep looking for update server copy over here and it's just not there. What I would need to do is update the information that's in MicroStation. So I just closed Excel because I like to check the data in. but I need to update it. Now, the reason I wanted to make a change, there's reasons why I make mistakes. Sometimes they're well-planned mistakes. This is one of those. I want to update this link. I don't want to replace it. I want to update it. The update is contained not on the home ribbon, but on the utilities ribbon. So if we go to utilities, there's a pyramid with a link. Remember that chain symbol? Those are links. So this icon that's a blue pyramid with a link on it, 2 links, is where we want to go. There is a down arrow, and I'm going to choose edit links. If I choose update links, it just updates everything. I just like to see what's available in the edit links. If I didn't have the Excel spreadsheet open and I thought, oh, there's one other change that I wanted to make, through edit links, I can actually select the link and I can open the source document. I can actually open it from here. But right now, I'm just going to choose this Update Now button. Update Now. Get the little, whatever that timing device is called. And I don't see any changes. So you might think, oh, well, that doesn't work. Well, it worked, but we have to close this dialog in order to see the changes. So I'm now going to close the dialog, and it refreshes the display. So update now, close the dialog, and then we see that that went away. Let's try another edit. I want to edit the link, and let's open the source. I'm going to open that source document. It's going to open Excel if I have my way with it. There it is. And the area is selected. I wanted to make a change that's not going to prove to be really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the width of a column. I'm going to take this column K and I'm just going to drag it wider. For some reason, I needed that column wider, right? I'm going to save my changes. I also wanted to point out, because I opened the source, look at that hatching. That's just telling me the Excel spreadsheet is open. So if I save this and close, it updated. But notice what happened in the update. It got wider, so it pushed things out on the left side and it pushed stuff out on the right side. It no longer fits on the sheet. And my bubbles aren't aligned anymore. They look like icky poo poo caca. Well, let's get it back. I could undo the update, but I can't undo the change that I made to Excel. So I'm just going to fix the Excel document and update again. If I choose edit links again, I can open the source. So I select it and choose open source. It's going to show gray hatching and I have the source open. Now I want to restore that column to the width that it was supposed to be. There is a column right next to it, the J column. And if I right click on the J column, I can see what the column width is, and I can actually even copy that value to the clipboard, 3.57. I can select the K column, go to its column width, and I can, if you double click, you get help. Did you all know that? Wow, I accidentally double clicked and it opened up a help. Anyway, I'm going to paste 3.57. It restores it to the correct width. I'm going to save and exit, and my sheet returned to fitting inside the border. Now I'm just going to check my notes, and if you have any questions, feel free. I'm down to the point where I need to tell you some tips about editing the worksheet. So I'm going to go right back into that worksheet and open it up. And it really doesn't matter whether I use open source or I open it from Excel. Notice that, well, actually, maybe it does. it looks like MicroStation is unaware that it's open. That's fine. But if I go into the edit links, it will scan it and it'll say, oh, it's open. Okay, so here's the document. It's open. Let's say I wanted to copy some data. I wanted to make this point about copying data, especially from other spreadsheets. The data has format where it's sitting at. It's just got a particular font, a size, whether it's centered or not. That's all formatting about the data in the cell. When we copy and paste from one sheet to another, whether it's a different workbook or this one, could be an old one, go ahead and copy your stuff. I'm going to go ahead and copy from looks like A15 again. I'm not going to bother with the header. I'm going to get A15 to CF45. That's the only area where I've got data. And I'm going to copy that to the clipboard. And I'm going to go to BD02. When I paste, I'm going to choose that upper left corner cell, A15, in the new location. And I'm going to right click and choose to paste the values only. If you don't right click, you can choose the tiny little triangle and find that paste values. It's in the second group of paste values only. That will retain orientation. We can see it retained the orientation of the sheet number. It retained the font. It knows that these little check marks are Wingdings 2 font, but the PH is Arial. It knows what font and it retained all that information. The edit that we would need to make after pasting is to select our cells that all belong on sheet 1 and choose that merge into center. These are just edits that you would make in the worksheet. And of course, this would probably be a different sheet now since I've moved to a different pipe data table worksheet. So just be very careful if you are copying from an older worksheet. They didn't use Wingdings 2 for the checkboxes. I think some of them used Wingdings. If you need to alter the formatting, we would appreciate knowing what edits need to be made to the template that make your life easier, make it easier to function with these spreadsheets. For example, if we have chosen the wrong accuracy for the resistivity. I mean, it says, I don't even know what that means. Resistivity hundreds. I would have said hundredths, I think, if I was trying to do decimal places. But it looks to me like it's displaying to the nearest tenth. So that's probably an area that's going to be needing to have somebody take a look at. And tell us what you want. But if that needed to read out to the hundredths, and there's a missing TH, we would need space in this column for that to display 2 decimal places. We'd probably have to take that space from someplace else. Maybe we could skinny up the rise column, but it would be better to, let Michael do those changes. Let us know if you have issues with the accuracy, or if you're having to resize columns. Things we no longer use, we had this question asked before. The note numbers, in ancient days, we used to put circles around the note number on the plans in that B column. Each one of these had a circle around it. Decided that was a waste of ink. I think it makes things hard to read. So those circles are no longer required. Will Woods was present at our session last month, and he agreed those circles are not required. Another thing that just doesn't work with these sheets is diagonal boxes. Some of you who do a lot of formatting with cells know that there's the ability to change a cell and to go into the formatting and put a diagonal line across a cell. And people used to do that for the left and right terminal treatments. They'd put a a diagonal line. We are no longer using the diagonal line because it messes up the pasting into MicroStation. We are using a slash, and it's really similar to the way that it looks in cell AG 5 through 8. You put your distance or your and you'll put a couple of spaces, a forward slash, a couple of spaces, and then your distance. I think those are usually values, not letters, or maybe they're letters. I probably have the wrong column. Michael will tell me. We're going to be using most places the Arial font. If we poke around, we'll see that most places we are using the Arial font. That should continue. If you need to skinny something up because maybe you've got, I don't know, an extremely long or big size of pipe and it goes into the thousands of inches, you could try Arial narrow. You could try using a narrower font. That would be one thing that you could try to do without changing the column widths. The length of your pipe in feet, though, is normally limited to 4 characters with 1 decimal place. Let's see. Any questions? I see Tammy, you have a question.
Yes, 2 things. It looks like the gray cell lines are really faint. I'm guessing that they print okay.
Yeah, the ones that are in MicroStation?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see how it prints. Let's just see. I'm going to use the print dialog. How? And I'm going to apply a print style, which is sheet 11 by 17. And I'm going to choose print to file. I'm not going to use a wizard. And I'm going to put it in the 0 temp folder so that I can delete it later, right? I'm just going to leave it named the way it is. It should open it as soon as it creates it, and we can take a look in the PDF and see. And here we go. And they do look gray. They do look gray. So I don't know. That's a good question. So we'll take that query and we'll ask. We'll ask Will Woods. We'll say, hey, is this okay, or do we need to not use gray for our grid, basically?
Okay. And then one other thing was under the terminal treatment, the left and right, it looks like the justification varies. You have center and then left justification.
I see. So you're looking at the cells in the worksheet?
Yeah, and as you move down there, you see that it's left.
Yep.
Yeah, that was something I just picked up on earlier today, and I'm actually making edits to this today, and I found that, and I'm fixing that justification right now.
Great. Yeah, if you see anything else too, that let us know. You can email odot.east@odot.oregon.gov. Tell us it's about the pipe data worksheet. And Michael is editing it today. If we get those edits, we'll put them into the workspace. We'll do an update. And we'll do an intermediate update because a lot of people are trying this out, and so we want to get those good changes in there so that folks can start using it.
I have a question about the design height of cover.
Okay.
I know RD300, or actually I think on note 1 on the sheet, the footnote 1, it's measured from the top of pipe to the top of subgrade. And in some cases, we have existing pipes that we're tying into that are within the roadway base aggregate, so it would yield a negative design height of cover. I've just been adding those as 0.0, but I'm curious how other people or ODOT recommends approaching this.
I do not have an answer for that. Alan, you have a comment?
I do. I would recommend using 0 for that, and that's what we use in region 1 when that occurs, because then you're generally using ductile iron or some kind of rigid pipe, so that when they're compacting base or anything, running heavy equipment over it, it's not damaging the pipe.
So 0 is your indicator that you've either got 0 or less, but you don't put a negative in there, is what I'm hearing you say.
Correct. That's my rule of thumb, but yeah, it might be good to check with Will on that, but that's what we use in Region 1.
Great. Kyle?
I'm just assuming this workflow works the same for the signpost tables and any other tables that we'll be linking.
It can. Let's see, I'm looking. I don't think that we have a template for the signpost data table yet. Is that right, Michael?
We don't have one for the sign and post table yet. I am working on that one, and it might be similar to this because it's kind of a complex table just like this one is. Most of the other tables were actually doing a little bit different process and using the table seeds within MicroStation. And they're coming out looking a lot better and linked to Excel like these are, but they aren't images.
We don't have the sign and post table seeds even.
Not yet. Nope.
No. So there's no table seeds. There's no Excel worksheet to work from yet. All we have is the old ones. If you wanted to try using an older signpost data table sheet, absolutely you could try using this method. Just be aware that the column height widths and the row heights, they affect your overall size of everything that's on the sheet. So that's one of the things that we'll do when we get a hold of the spreadsheet, is we'll try to make everything fit on the sheet and fit well from the template. The old tables, the old Excel spreadsheets also were often macro enabled, and they had this copy to clipboard button. I've had nothing but problems with those macro enabled older spreadsheets. And so the new ones that we're using with this process, they're not macro enabled. There's no copy to clipboard button. I have been successful though at just selecting the body of information and actually linking it. Yeah, linking it just like this. And you can snap to whatever you'd like. Give it a try. Charlotte, you have a question, comment?
Oh, mine's pretty minor. I typed it in there, but are we going to be able to put things on this sheet that we normally do, such as normally we place a line between the two sheets so that they're easier to be read, that, you know, sheet such and such ends here and the next one starts. And also we do arrows to designate that along the side where you place the sheet number.
There's no reason why you can't place any graphics. Any graphics that you place will be placed right over the top of this. You know, whether or not it's allowed, that's something that you would need to check with Will Woods about. Yeah,
no, it's what we do already. I was just wondering. My question was, is this
I do a lot
that...
of the stuff that's not right though? Be careful. Just check assumptions is all I'm saying.
Well, it's in the book. It's in the standard books to do that. So
good. Then you can place them right over the top.
Okay, that was my question. Was can graphics be added to this, or is this kind of like this?
Let's just. Well, I see it on top. Looks to me like it's on top. So yeah, I can put graphics and it'll mess it up. Yeah. I go to print it. Yep, looks like it's so anything you draw will be seen. Yeah. And we still have, remember, the bring to front command is still in there, and there's lots of things that you can use.
And I wanted to add that this is going to go through the CAD Standards Committee, probably the next meeting that's coming up, because there is a couple little changes to it. So just to forewarn those on the committee that this is coming to you. So there's minimal risk in putting this out right now the way it is, because it's fairly simple to change it like money displayed. So,
Yeah.
and it's a work in progress. We're continually going to be updating this probably for quite a while. It's not, we're always going to get little comments here and there to update this, just like all the other cells and such in our workspace. So for a while, it's probably going to change just a little bit here and there. But like Lenny also said, I'm working on an update for it right now with a couple of the comments that I got, because we want to get those out to you right away.
Yeah. And Michael's been doing the work on it, and he heard the comments that we've had today, and so I'm sure that, for example, the color of the grid here is something that he'll double check and he'll be looking at. And that is an easy thing also for you to change. You know, if you wanted to edit the sheet that you're using, you can change the colors of the borders of the cells, and you can change it.
Currently, there's no borders
Oh, that's
on the
why.
ones that you show, that you see gray.
Yeah.
Because when I originally set this up, I was anticipating that part being within MicroStation.
Within a
And
table.
kind of last minute,
Yeah.
last month, we shifted gears to try and get you something quicker. And I missed that. So
That's
I can
an
go in
easy
there
thing
and
to add.
add those in there pretty quickly.
Yeah. Great. That's true. When we were trying to put this information into the table would have provided all of those outlines. Yeah, the table seed. If you think of anything else, feel free to ask. I wanted to point out just a couple of other things that I have made on the announcements page of the East website. I'm sure that by now many of you are aware that icons in ProjectWise are changing. So don't freak out if you look at the icons within ProjectWise. Some of these projects have gone to being accessible in ProjectWise 365, and so their icons change. It's still a project. So if any of these are your projects, it's okay. It's just a new icon indicating that it's accessible using ProjectWise 365. The updates to the ProjectWise user manual that I had requested about the design deliverables and the container files and all those new names, those changes have been made. So if you open up the ProjectWise user manual, which also had a name change, so I'm going to show you where that is. The ProjectWise user manual is underneath the standards folder. So it's documents, standards, and there's a PW_standards folder. I had trouble finding this because they've inserted the name of the software. Now that we're going to ProjectWise 365, there's going to be like 3 different pieces of ProjectWise. It's not just ProjectWise, 3 different softwares. So the manual is now called ODOT_PW_Explorer. It's the manual for use with the full Explorer, which is what I've been using today. It's the full Explorer. Anyway, this manual was updated, and it has chapter 4, where we made the updates about the folders for plans production and survey design deliverables. So all of this information is in here, and so is my favorite schematic these days is the swim lane that kind of shows how the data comes from the surveyor or the designer, gets delivered in a container file, and then attaches references so that it can be used in the plans production. So the information is now in the ODOT PW Explorer user manual. Externals, it would be great if somebody could verify for me that you have access, but there also is a partner's external user manual. So I'm wondering if if that's the one for partners. I'll open it and see if it's got, yes, it has not been updated. So I will find out on my end if this document is still going to be in use. And if it is, I will get them to update it. Any other questions or comments? Thank you all for coming.